Hey, welcome back. It's almost the new year. Maybe you're watching this in the beginning of 2019. If you're new to this channel, I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining. And if you are not new, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about my breastfeeding journey, which is something that I cannot believe I've never made a video about it because it's such a huge part of my life. I feel like breastfeeding, I know it sounds silly, but it's true. Breastfeeding, was a huge deal for me. It was a huge mental battle almost for me. So I can't believe I haven't made a video about it, and I thought today I'm gonna make a video about breastfeeding. So if you're a mom, I hope you can relate on some things. If you're a soon-to-be mom, I hope this is informational for you and insightful for you. And if you're just watching this because you're curious, that's perfectly cool with me too. So I have some notes here to keep me on track, but I feel like I need to just take a minute because I usually film during the day, and I'm filming this I think it's after 8 p.m. and my daughter Ellie's sleeping right now, and my husband and my 2-year-old just went to the grocery store to pick up a few things, and I'm just feeling so cozy. I'm on the couch. I have my pillow. I'm in my favorite sweater. The Christmas tree's still up. And I just really want to take a minute, I guess, since we're one day away from 2019. I'm filming this 2 days before 2019. I guess I just want to say today I hit 101 subscribers, and I want to thank each and every one of you for just following me on this journey, for coming alongside me, for helping me build this community, for creating solidarity, for giving me support, for giving me so much love and encouragement, putting myself out on this channel and sharing my journey about my mental health struggles, my struggle with depression and anxiety, just all my different kinds of struggles, hoping that walking through this path and sharing it will help any of you who are on this path too. You guys have all made this worth it. So I didn't even plan to say that, but I guess I'm just sitting here in the peace and quiet. I have 2 kids now, as a lot of you know, and I have had very little time to myself. So having this time to just sit here doing what I honestly really enjoy doing, talking to other people about stuff that really matters. I'm so tired of small talk. That's basically my thing. I just want to get deep with people, and this is my opportunity to do it through YouTube. So thank you for joining me. If you're new, if you've been here for a long time, whatever it is, whatever the case is, thank you so much for supporting my channel, for watching my videos, for subscribing. I just really appreciate it. So without any more delay, let's start talking about my breastfeeding journey. So when I had my first son 2 years ago, my first child, I really I really struggled with pregnancy. I was really sick for most of it, and honestly, not most of it, but it felt like it. It was a hard pregnancy, and I worked full time, and it was just a really difficult time for me. And it was my first year of marriage. I got pregnant right away. All that's to say, being pregnant was really tough for me. I really was excited and eager to give birth because I thought, I'm going to have this baby on the outside of me. It's going to be so great. I'm not going to be pregnant anymore. I can't wait. Everything's going to be better. Once I get through the pain of childbirth, everything's going to be perfect. Part of the problem was I didn't really educate myself fully. I take responsibility for that. I didn't really do enough research about what postpartum would be like. I guess I felt like I knew enough mothers in my life. By the way, I'm super nasally because my allergies are acting up. So, excuse me. That's why I'm having a hard time breathing and talking. But anyway, we're here and we're going to take advantage of this. So, I really was looking forward to birth. And I thought that if something really difficult was lying ahead of me after birth, that I would have heard about it by now. My mom had 11 kids. I grew up around huge families. I know a lot of moms. I thought for sure if there was something I needed to know, they would have told me. And I think the reason why a lot of mothers do not speak up about pregnancy issues, postpartum issues, is because A, we don't want to complain, and B, we don't want to scare anybody because everyone's experience truly is different. But I think that kind of leaves your fellow mom left hanging because then she doesn't really know what to expect. And so I always try to make sure if someone asks me a question, I give them my 2 cents, but I say that was just my experience. Yours could be different, but I just thought I should share it with you, you know, since you're curious. So I guess this is me sharing with you my experience. I'm not saying that you're going to have this experience. I hope if you're pregnant with your first or whatever, you're not freaking out. And I hope that if you have multiple kids, you don't look at this video and think, oh my gosh, how could she tell me that that's the way it is? That's not how it is for everyone. That's not what I'm saying. This is how it was for me. And I just think that moms really should talk about our experiences more so that when someone has their first child, they're not completely caught off guard, because I was completely caught off guard. I did do some reading and research, but I really didn't think I needed to like be that mom that read all these books about pregnancy and childbirth and postpartum, because I thought that I would adjust, and I thought that I would know what needed to happen because I was around a lot of moms. So I thought if there was something crazy weird, like when they have said something. So anyway, I was just really ignorant is what I'm trying to say, and I was really underprepared. So I gave birth, and my birth was a nightmare. It was horrific. It was very traumatizing. I have a video about my birth story. I'll link it below. It's called My First Birth Was a Nightmare. I'll link it below. You should check it out. I go into detail about the birth. One thing though that I forgot to mention in my first birth video is that my doctor, I had the epidural so I didn't feel it, but he was really messed up and really mean, and he was really angry at me because I was really angry at him for doing an episiotomy. That's a whole nother story. But he ripped out my placenta. So the placenta lines the uterus. It, I think, has like all the nutrition or something, or not all the nutrition, but some of the nutrition that your baby gets while they're in the womb. And when you give birth, your uterus starts to contract down and your blood vessels start to, what's the word? Basically, it tells your body that you're getting rid of your placenta because you've given birth, and it helps you to like lessen the bleeding that you would have because the placenta slowly kind of detaches from the uterine wall. So he ripped it out of me. He just reached in, like I saw him reach in and rip out my placenta. And even though I didn't feel it, it caused a lot of issues later. Anyway, I don't know why I'm going into that. That's not this video. That's going to be my postpartum video. I'm sorry. Afterwards, I was told by the nurses I needed to start pumping. They were like, you need to start pumping. You need to pump every few hours, and you need to pump for at least 10 minutes on both sides. So I was pumping, and one of the really difficult things is I would get really engorged. And if you don't know what being engorged is, it's when you make so much milk in your boobs that they become extremely full. So full to the point that you are so tender and you are so sore. And if you keep producing milk and you don't get it out of you fast enough, you can actually get these clogged ducts or I almost said clogged pores. You can get these clogged ducts in your boobs. So it's like when the milk gets backed up and you can actually end up getting an infection. So it's really imperative that you express your milk out. You can use your hand or you can use a pump. So these women were like, you need to get your milk supply in. These nurses were like, you need to pump so that your milk supply will come in. So I was like really like doing that, sitting down, pumping, even though like I had just had an episiotomy, I had just given birth. It was really painful to be sitting up doing all of this, but I was doing it anyway. And my son was having difficulty latching. He didn't have a tongue tie or anything like that. He just had a really hard time latching. And to be honest, now that I look back, I'm like, taking that nurse's advice to pump all the time was actually stupid because it made my boobs so huge from the milk supply overproducing, and they became rock hard. So when your boobs, so instead of your nipple like sticking out, yes, we're going to talk about nipple and boobs and all that stuff in this video, so bear with me. Instead of having a soft nipple because of having like a medium or a good amount of supply of milk, I had so much milk that it like expanded my nipple and almost made it flat. So my baby couldn't latch on because my boob was so hard. So they were like, okay, you need to express. So it was so painful because you're so tender. I was so tender because I was so full and so engorged. So I'm like squeezing the milk out with my hand or with the pump, trying to get my breast softer so that he could latch on, but he still had an extremely hard time. The lactation consultant at the hospital came and they tried to help me. And one of them told me that my anatomy wasn't good, which is basically fancy for saying your boobs are really small. Like that's basically what they were trying to say, is like your breasts are pretty small. So maybe he's having a hard time reaching your breasts and you need to try different positions. So trying all kinds of positions to hold him in different spots, and it wasn't working. And you can imagine when you have a baby and they're hungry, they're screaming at you. So I just gave birth. It was really traumatic. I felt completely taken advantage of by my doctor. I felt scared and kind of traumatized. And all the while this is happening, I have a new baby. I just became a mother. The baby's screaming at me. He had really bad colic and just a lot of issues from the start. It was a rude awakening into motherhood. That's all I have to say about that. So he's screaming, and so I'm anxious because I'm like, my boobs are hurting. Obviously, my vagina is killing me, and my uterus is contracting down, which is really painful, by the way. No one tells you this, but when your uterus contracts down, it actually feels like contractions, and it's really painful, and it gets more painful every time you have a kid. So my second time around was way more painful than the first time around. So all of this is happening, and I have a screaming baby, and I'm trying to feed him, trying to get him to latch, and I just feel so helpless. They're hungry, they want to eat, but I can't get him to latch. And so we tried using a pump to get milk out, to like put the milk in this little syringe, to drop it, like use it as a dropper into my son's mouth, or like drop the milk onto my nipple and my areola area so that he would taste the milk and then latch. It didn't work either. Eventually, the lactation consultant at the hospital gave me a nipple shield, which is basically this plastic thing that enlarges your nipple. So it's just like, it's like a fake bottle nipple that you can put onto your boob so that it helps draw out the milk and protects your nipple. So one of the things that happened right away was, because my son wasn't latching properly, every time he did feed, it honestly felt like my nipple, like when he was sucking, it felt like broken glass. Like it felt like broken glass on my skin. It was this incredible shooting pain. And it just made me want to cry every single time. And you can imagine when you have a baby, you're feeding them like every hour to 2 hours. And he was an eater. He did not sleep. He ate every like 1 to 2 hours around the clock. So 6 days into it, my nipples were bleeding and then scabbed over. I was in so much pain. And so 6 days into it, I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, honey, I can't. Telling my husband, honey, I can't do this. Can we please do a bottle? Also, I wasn't sleeping because I was feeding him all the time. And my husband would get up to do diaper changes and stuff. So we were both exhausted. But basically, I was like, I need you to do the bottle feeding on some of these hours because I really need to sleep. I was literally losing my mind. After being awake for 72 hours straight, it was just like, it was a whole new level of insanity. So it was so hard, you guys. And I just felt so taken off guard. I felt so like no one had prepared me for this. And I know no one can really prepare you, but no one really told me, like, I really had no idea what was coming. So hopefully this helps you. I'm not trying to scare you, but honestly, I feel like ignorance is not bliss, especially when it comes to child rearing and childbearing. I'd rather you know. Like, I would rather have known what was happening so I could have prepared better. So I start pumping around the clock because I am trying to bottle feed. And the plan was only to bottle feed him for one night so that I could get some sleep. And what ended up happening was he really liked the bottle. So he didn't want to go back to the boob, and he really wouldn't do it. So then all of a sudden I was stuck bottle feeding, which means I was stuck pumping to keep my supply up. So I would basically pump, clean the pump parts, store the milk, label the milk, date it, like in the fridge, and then get his other bottle ready, heat it. We didn't have a bottle heater, so you had to like painfully, slowly heat it up in a bowl of hot water, and then feed him, burp him, change him, hopefully get him down to sleep, and then I'd be so engorged again. Even if he was sleeping for 30 minutes, I tried to sleep while he was sleeping. I would be so engorged and so in pain I couldn't sleep. So I'd have to, once I put him down, I'd have to go pump again. Pump, clean the parts, store the milk, get the next bottle ready, feed him, burp him, change him, put him back down. That was my life for 6 weeks straight. That was such a brutal routine, you guys. It was so brutal. And I ended up contacting another lactation consultant, which I was fortunate enough through the insurance I had like 6 like covered visits. So the lactation consultant came to my apartment and she helped me use the Nipple Shield better because I wasn't using it really because I didn't know how. The lactation consultants at the hospital I delivered at weren't that great. So she helped me use the Nipple Shield so that I could just feed him from the Nipple Shield and not have to pump all the time. That made things a little bit easier. However, the Nipple Shield never like stuck to my nipple. So I had to like, even if it was 4 in the morning and I'm half awake, I have to like keep my eyes open to make sure that the plastic flap of the nipple shield wasn't flapping up over his nose, because sometimes it would. So I have to make sure that I'm like holding the nipple shield down, maneuver him, put him on the shield, and then the milk would like fill up in the shield because the shield has like some space. So I remember I was an oversupplier, so my milk would fill up in the shield, and then all of a sudden he was gagging on it because there was too much milk coming in. That's the problem with the shield. It could collect milk in the shield. So I always had to breastfeed with a towel because the shield, hold on, my baby's awake. Look who's awake. I don't know if you can see her because I don't have a, I don't know if you can see her because I don't have a flip out display, but she's awake. And you might have just saw a product that I'm going to talk about because it's literally saving my life. But let's continue the story. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Oh, you needed to burp? She's smiling. Oh, my allergies are acting up today. This is definitely a different video for you guys. It's more chill, laid back. I hope that's cool with you guys. Where was I? Oh, so the lactation consultant that came to my home was fantastic because she told me, how many ounces do you get out when you pump for how long? And I said, I get out 5 ounces per boob in just like less than 10 minutes, like maybe 7 minutes. And she was like, wait, what? 5 ounces per boob? And I was like, yeah. And it's not that I run out of milk. I said, I just stopped because, hi, are you smiling? Are you smiling? Can you say hi to everyone? She's super sweet. I think she's hungry. Wait, which side do we do? That's another thing when you're breastfeeding. You're like, which boob did I feed from last? I don't remember. So I told her 5 ounces per boob in just like 7 minutes. And it's not that my boobs run out of milk. It was like I just stopped pumping because my pump only holds 5 ounces per side. So I would just stop because they were full. I probably could keep going. And she was like, holy cow, you are way overproducing. And when she had me try to feed Charlie, my son, and she was just kind of like seeing what my boobs do, I literally on the other side, my letdown, which is the milk that comes out of the side that you're not feeding on, my letdown was so intense. I would completely soak him. Like I had to nurse with a towel to keep him dry. So I would basically soak an entire towel, not an entire towel, but like half the towel every single time I fed. So I was always going through towels and like I used nursing pads, but I was always filling those up and it was just insane. I was producing so much milk. And at the time I didn't really realize that you could donate milk. Maybe I would have thought about doing that since I was such an overproducer. And I know some women struggle to even have their milk come in. But the reason why the advice of the lactation consultant at the hospital was so wrong is like a lot of women struggle to get their milk to come in. So they want you to start pumping to start stimulating that, especially if your baby has feeding and latching problems so that your milk will come in anyway. But what they didn't ask me, what I now know as a more experienced mother, is you only really need to pump like that if your milk isn't coming in and if you need help getting your milk to come in. My milk actually came in when I was 6 months pregnant. I remember waking up in the morning because I felt something wet and I woke up and I realized that my boob had been leaking on my bed and I was like, yawn, like my husband. I was like, it's so amazing when you're pregnant for the first time because you're both experiencing all these things together for the first time. And I was like, milk just came out of my boob. And he was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so my milk came in really early and I didn't need to. Are you eating? I didn't need to do any extra pumping. So pumping like that as often as I was actually making my overproduction problem worse and was making my boobs harder, which was making it harder for my son to latch and to enjoy breastfeeding. That's another thing. Breastfeeding is actually not supposed to hurt. So if it's painful for you, something is wrong. Either your kid has a tongue tie or you're not doing a good position or you're overproducing or something's wrong. It's not supposed to hurt because once we got things figured out, breastfeeding actually became really, really great because it's so convenient. You don't have to worry about, bacteria. You don't have to worry about the temperature. You don't have to worry about anything because it's just there and your body will adjust its supply. She's like, why are you talking? I'm trying to sleep. Hi, smiley girl. She's so sweet. Your body will adjust its supply based on what your baby's demand is. So at first, of course, she keeps smiling. She's like, who are you talking to? You're so cute. At first, of course, your body is figuring things out. And when you're adding a pump to the mix, you're confusing your body more. But like, for instance, with my second, you're so funny. With my second, I didn't pump. So for example, with my second, I didn't pump at all. And I didn't have to go back to work. Oh, my nose is running. Hi, are you all done? Are you all finished? This video is going to take forever to film. So with my second, for instance, I never used the pump because my milk came in early as well in my pregnancy. And, oh, excuse you, I should be burping you. My milk came in early, so I didn't pump because I knew how it could mess up my supply. So for the first 2 months, I would say I was pretty engorged and uncomfortable, and my milk was really coming in and trying to figure out life. But I didn't want to like express milk too much or pump it out because then that would be telling my body that I had a greater demand than she actually needed. Does that make sense? So if you pump and you take 3 ounces of milk out, you're telling your body you need to make 3 extra ounces of milk. She's the smiliest kid ever. Like, she usually only smiles if she's making face contact. So you guys can't see it, but she's really the sweetest kid ever. So my milk literally mellowed out after 2 months, and I didn't make a ton of extra milk. Like I wasn't engorged anymore, and I could sleep soundly, at least when she was sleeping, obviously. So that's the nice thing about not pumping. But the hard thing is because I wasn't collecting any milk at that time when I just had her, and I had a lot of extra supply, I didn't get to stockpile milk up in the freezer. So every time I want to like leave the house without her and take a break, it's stressful because I don't have any extra milk in my boobs. So when I try to pump, not much comes out, and I don't have milk in the freezer, so I could just like leave. So I'm actually starting to pump. It hasn't been once a day, but I need to pump about once a day so I can start to increase my supply so that I can save some milk in the freezer so I can actually leave the house without my kid. And I know some breastfeeding moms say they don't leave the house without their kid and they hate pumping. I get that, but like for me, mentally and emotionally, I need to be away from my kids at some point of every day. Like I get really overloaded from a sensory standpoint, like just the noise and the constant touching. And that's another thing, breastfeeding, like I don't mind physical touch, but once I started breastfeeding, you kind of feel touched out because you're constantly being touched. And so like when my husband comes home and he wants to like have a hug or something, I noticed I was like, don't touch me, don't touch me. Like, and I never understood why until like I heard other moms say, oh yeah, like after I had a kid, I like kind of don't like being touched. And it's because it's a sensory overload. Like it's just, you're being talked to and whined at and touched and cried at all day. And yes, there are happy, beautiful moments, but honestly, this video is to talk about the hard part. And the hard part is the sensory overload and the being touched all the time. And I guess some moms love that stuff. They love it. But for me, I get overloaded from a sensory perspective and I need a sensory break. Anyway, that was such a tangent. So back to Charlie, the lactation consultant was like, you're telling your body to overproduce way too much when you pump. And also I think, it was so stupid now that I look back, but it's like when I was at the hospital and they were telling me to pump, it was just to get my milk flowing. Once my milk was flowing, I should have stopped, but no one told me, oh, you only need to do it this long, or you only need to do it for this many times. No one said anything. So I kept doing it thinking that I needed to do it, otherwise I was going to lose my milk supply. That was not true. So the lactation consultant, I think I saw her 3 or 4 weeks postpartum. So this is a different lactation consultant, the one that came to my home. She said, stop pumping, just stop. She's like, and if you need to pump because you're in pain, pump just an ounce or 2 until your boob is soft again and not in pain, but do not pump until like your bottle is full. That was the best advice ever because it did seriously help my production slow down. And because I was using the Nipple Shield, I didn't need to pump a lot of milk to fill up a bottle because I was feeding more directly most of the time. However, I still pumped a bottle when we were going to church or going out because, like I said, the Nipple Shield, the nipple would get full of milk and then just like spill everywhere. So my clothes were most likely going to get soaked. My son's clothes were most likely going to get soaked.
When I use the Nipple Shield, I often needed to use a towel, like I was saying. So that was just not an option. When you go out, you can't have a towel and get soaking wet and have to change your clothes and your baby's clothes. So that was really stressful because it was like we were always late wherever we went because I needed to take 15 minutes to pump a bottle and clean the parts and all that stuff. So anyway, what's next? Oh, I wanted to mention that one of the things that really helped me, especially with Ellie, my second, because she actually was doing a straw suck in the beginning. That's another thing. The baby needs to be sucking a certain way so that it doesn't hurt. So Ellie actually was doing a straw suck, which is like, and it was like pulling my nipple and it was really painful. She did that for a little while, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, but she got the hang of it. Yeah, you did. You're a pro breastfeeder. Yeah. Anyway, but with Charlie as well, one of the things that helped me with both is nipple cream. What is it called again? I don't remember. I'll link it in the description. I don't have it on me, but basically any sort of nipple soothing cream, like if your nipples hurt or if they're cracked or they're bleeding, I would literally lather. I wasn't using that enough with Charlie. I think as a first time mom, I was so scared. I was like, oh no, I don't want to put it on my nipple because then it's going to get in his mouth. But like all the nipple creams that I was using were like safe for baby to consume. You know, even the hospital said it's safe for the baby to consume. And I guess I was just really scared, and I was just really scared. With the first child, I was so scared, and I want you to know, use the damn nipple cream. Everything's gonna be fine. So when I had my second, I applied it every time I did a feeding. So she would feed, I'd apply it. She'd feed, I'd apply it. And it honestly really helped with the pain, and it kept me from like cracking and bleeding and scabbing. Like it was painful, but I never bled or scabbed with Ellie. Well, actually scabbed once, but oh, she's getting a little frustrated. What's wrong, honey? What's wrong? So I'm going to link the nipple cream in the description box for you. I highly recommend if you're about to have a baby, get some nipple cream in advance. Don't wait until you're in pain because you're probably going to be feeding around the clock, and it's just better to have it by your bedside table. She's getting fussy. It's better to have it so that you can use it right away before your nipples get really bad. All right, you guys. My husband is back with my son. He's holding the baby. She's really fussy. Go figure, usually I'm standing and filming in a different spot, and she loves it when I'm standing and holding her, but I'm sitting today and she was not having it. So luckily he's back and he's holding her. But at least you guys got to see her, so that's good. So where was I? Oh, so you're going to be hearing her squawk and Charlie squawk. I promise they're both fine. So going back to work 3.5 months. I know I've been all over the place and I sincerely apologize. Bear with me. So rewinding back to my first child, 3.5 months after postpartum, 3.5 months of maternity leave, I was very blessed to have, and I went back to work, and it was really tough having to pump about 3 to 4 times in an 8-hour period or a 9-hour period. And oftentimes it was like either I'd be missing meetings, or I wasn't able to work as hard as I would have liked, or I wasn't able to put as much effort into my work as I would have liked. It was just really tough. And let me know if you're a working mom who pumps, let me know how that works out for you. I was working at a big corporation and I was in an entry-level position, and I kind of really needed to prove myself and to learn as much as possible. So coming back after 3.5 months of maternity leave and constantly having to leave my desk to go pump. I could take my laptop with me, but I just wasn't as efficient without my second monitor. I just found it really hard to keep up. And it was tough because if we had to work late on a client presentation, I had to leave at 6. I couldn't stay late anymore because I had to leave to go back to my son, who I'd been away from for almost 12 hours. So that was all really, really challenging. I know some moms, they supplement with formula. I don't know why I didn't. I didn't have an issue with formula from like a health perspective. I think the reason why I didn't want to supplement mostly was financial. I did try giving my son formula once and he hated it. And I'm sure I could have tried a bunch of different brands, but again, we just didn't have money. Like when we had our first child, like we were really financially not doing the best. So I did quit my job not that long in, 2.5 months in, and got a different job, but that's another story. So that got easier. Basically, I was too scared to be away from my son for more than 2 hours unless I had my pump with me, and I knew I was going to have a space to pump. So at work, that makes sense because I have a pump room. I had a pump room at my job, which was great.
But say I wanted to go out with some friends, or say I wanted to take a real break and be away for more than an hour. One of the most incredible things that happened was at my job, we were offered, I think, 4 tickets to go see Ellen, the Ellen show. And I love Ellen. I have loved her for over a decade. She has gotten me through, her show has got me through some seriously tough times. And I wasn't actually extended a ticket, but initially, but one of the gals who wasn't able to go because she had to work late. And those of us who were going to go had to leave half day. So I actually was given the ticket, which felt like a gift from God. I'm not kidding. I was just like, I've always wanted to see Ellen in person. It is literally a bucket list thing. Why am I telling you this? Because even though I have wanted to see Ellen forever, I literally almost passed up the opportunity because as I knew I was going to have to drive over an hour there. It was going to be over 2 hour drive back. I knew I was going to have to wait there a long time. You have to sit in a line and you go through the show and everything. Like I was going to be gone for at least 6 hours. And I was like, where am I going to pump? What am I going to do? It literally would almost make me have a panic attack just trying to think about the logistics of having to pump. And I knew my son had enough milk, so that wasn't the issue, but I was just really scared. Like, where was I going to pump? So on top of carrying my purse, I was carrying my laptop bag from work and this huge pump bag with all my pump parts and my bottle and my ice packs and my insulated cooler bag. I mean, it's an operation. I get to Burbank where the show is filmed. By the time I get there, I already feel really engorged. And even though I'm with a friend and I'm trying to have a good time, we were at a restaurant before we went, just having a drink. Don't worry, I had a very light alcoholic beverage. You can have alcohol, you can have a glass of wine when you are breastfeeding. Don't listen to what people say, you can. I was already feeling really uncomfortable in my boobs. They were getting full, and it's so hard to be present when you're just like stressing about when am I gonna pump, when am I gonna pump. Also, when your boobs get full of milk, like at least for me, my armpits start to get really sweaty. So thank goodness I was wearing black. However, it was still really stressful. So finally, when we get inside like the Ellen studio, we're waiting in line to get into the show, and I still haven't pumped. And I wanted to pump at the restaurant bathroom, but they didn't have an outlet. It was this really tiny hole in the wall restaurant. So that was kind of unfortunate. And so we get there and we're in the Ellen studio, and there's this huge line of people, and I'm telling my friend, oh my gosh, I really need to pump. My boobs are so full. I'm getting really uncomfortable. She was like, let's go to the bathroom. So there's this huge line out of the bathroom. And there was an outlet, but I was feeling really stressed because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to like lift up my shirt, take off my bra, and pump in front of all of these people. Thankfully, I had one of those like pump holders. So it's like this zip up thing that goes around your boobs. You zip it up and it has 2 like holes so that you can put your pumps in it. This video is getting weird, but whatever. So my friend, who's so positive and so encouraging, was just like, it's incredible that you're breastfeeding. It's amazing. You need to pump. You should pump. You shouldn't be uncomfortable. You shouldn't be worried about this. She was amazing. So somehow I found the confidence from her encouragement to pump in the bathroom. So there was only like 2 or 3 sinks, and there's this huge line of people, and I'm sitting in the Ellen studio on the Warner Brothers lot, and I bust out my pump parts and I put my pump together, and I'm also hyper stressed about germs, and I'm like sanitizing my hands, and I'm putting the pump together, and I'm lifted up my shirt and pulled down my bra and put my zipper up thing on, and then I was pumping. And I was like, I mean, the pump makes a lot of noise. So everyone, of course, looks at me. I kind of was just looking at myself in the mirror, and I kind of wasn't looking at anyone. I mean, I guess I was a little bit embarrassed. I mean, it's kind of, your shirt's up in the middle of a bunch of strangers. So it was a little bit weird, but I was kind of really proud of myself for just doing it anyway, doing what I needed to do, not being ashamed of what my body can do. Like, that's what boobs are for. And I kind of hate that in our culture and in our society, it's like breastfeeding in public is so shamed. And that's another thing. Like, I would get so stressed of like going to Costco, for instance, and my son wanted to eat. And again, my son ate like every hour. So you were guaranteed that he was going to need to eat. So I constantly wanted to stay at home, which was not good for me, not mentally or otherwise. And when we went out, it was just like stressful because if you wanted to eat, it was like, do I go back to the car? Like when I was in Costco, like, or in any other shops, it was like, there's nowhere for me to sit to breastfeed. And I wasn't a good standing breastfeeder yet. So sometimes I would like
if there was like modeled furniture out, I would sit on the furniture. But like honestly, it really sucks that there's like not a chair for a breastfeeding mom to sit in. Like I really think that every store should have that. I mean, the moms are the ones spending the money, right? We should like, there should be more accommodations for that, but that's a whole nother tangent. So anyway, I pumped at the Ellen show. I put my milk into the containers and into my insulated cooler bag and got to go enjoy the Ellen show. It was amazing seeing her in person. I actually got to go back a second time. It was literally life-changing, amazing, bucket list. I love Ellen so much, and I just wish I could give her a huge hug because she has just brought so much joy to my life. Anyway, I just thought I should let you know that I had to pump in Ellen's studio bathroom. So there were a few other times that year, 2017, when I was breastfeeding my son, and I had to go to the hospital, not for me, but for my brother who I take care of, and he lives with me. And I'd be at the hospital sitting in the emergency room. I think there was one time I was there for 15 hours, another time I was there for 12 hours, and for some reason, well, I was at the ER. It was an emergency. I didn't have my pump with me. So for 12 hours or more, I was away from my son. At this time, he was eating like liquid foods and stuff, and I had milk in the freezer. Everything was fine for him, but for me, I was so engorged. I had never been in so much pain. Praise God, I never got mastitis and I never got any infections, but the pain of not getting your milk out for over 12 hours was insane. And the reason why was just I didn't have my pump. And one time I had the option to bring my pump, but I was just like, I was sitting in the ER all day. I couldn't go to the bathroom to pump because I needed to be with my brother in case they called him back. So that was so hard. I just sat there as my boobs got bigger and bigger and more engorged and more uncomfortable and more painful. And it was like there was nothing I could do about it. And it really sucked because I couldn't go to the bathroom. And a lot of the bathrooms didn't have outlets. So it wasn't really possible. Like they would have to go find a special place for me to pump. And I couldn't be away from my brother because if they called him back after waiting how many hours in the ER, I needed to be there. My brother has autism, so it's difficult to leave him anywhere by himself because communicating is a challenge for him. So I just wanted to give all these different experiences and stories of how breastfeeding in public is really hard when you don't have your kid to kind of do the expressing for you, to take the milk out of you. So whenever I was away from my kid, it was like whether I was at work or at the Ellen show or trying to go hang out with friends or at the hospital with my brother, I hate saying it like this, but it felt like a burden. I know that it has incredible health benefits. I know that I probably could have switched to formula, but because my milk came in and because I didn't have any issues, I really did feel like, I guess, obligated in a way. Like a lot of women don't get this opportunity to breastfeed. A lot of women, their milk just doesn't come in or it dries up really early. And I just felt really lucky to have this gift. And financially, hey, it's free. And so we kind of needed that as well because we didn't have the money to be paying for formula around the clock. So there was that. Anyway, I just want to wrap this up. So like I said, with Ellie, breastfeeding has been a breeze. It's been so easy. A lot of that is because I know what to do. I knew not to pump to get an oversupply. I knew what to do when I had an oversupply, express a little, but not too much. Express enough so that you get your clogs unclogged, but not so much that you tell your body to overproduce. Use nipple cream. Like I said earlier, I don't have a ton of supplies, so I actually have had a hard time stockpiling milk in the freezer for when I'm gone. I don't plan on being gone for any long period of time, but like I said, for when I want to take a break, just knowing, oh, I want to take a break, there's milk in the freezer, it's fine. Every time I want to take a break now, it's like this huge production of trying to find time to pump, then I don't get enough milk out, and then can I go? How long can I be gone? There was one time I left. Luckily, I was only 5 minutes away, but she ran out of milk and I had to like rush home. So that was hard. Luckily, she's good at taking the bottle and the breast. But the thing I really want to share with you that's been a huge game changer that I've started using recently is this product here. It's called Haka USA, or the company's called Haka USA. I don't know what they call this. I think they call it a Haka. Yeah, it says Haka. This is amazing. It's not just a milk catcher, which I wish I had. I didn't get this until a few weeks ago. I seriously wish I had it in the beginning when I was like, had a lot of letdown where she would be feeding on one side and my other boob would just be like pouring milk. Like if I didn't have a towel or if I wasn't wearing a nursing pad, it was just soak my shirt, soak my bed, soak my towel, like tons of milk comes out in the beginning. But it's not just a milk catcher. And my friend Christiana Rivers, or Christiana Lash, she's married now. Sorry Christiana, if you're watching this. I was flipping through Instagram stories and she had an Instagram story where she was like, thank you at Haka USA for this awesome product or something. And she had milk in it. And I was like, I messaged her and I was like, what in the world is that? She's like, it's amazing. You should check it out. It's like a breast pump that you could use for letdown. It catches letdown on the other side. So it was only like, it was less than $15. I got it from Amazon, and I will link this down below. And honestly, if you're a mom to be, or if you're a mom and you've never heard of this, you absolutely need this. Like, pumps, electric pumps can be pretty expensive, but this is like no reason why you shouldn't have this. It is makes such a huge difference. And I wish I had it in the beginning, like I said, because I would have caught so much milk. But it doesn't just catch milk. It actually will suction out milk. So now I don't have letdown because my milk supply has stabilized, because my baby's 3 months old now. It's like mellowed out. I sound so sinusy. Sinusy. Guys, I'm so tired. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I sound so nasally right now. My allergies are so bad during this time of year, and I think the Christmas tree is making it worse. Anyway, so what you do, the way it's shaped, you can squeeze it like this, put it on your boob, and then you let go, and it creates suction. And that pulls the milk out of me. And it doesn't, like, I'll do 1 to maybe 3 ounces at a time. But what's great is that it's finally started enabling me to like increase my production just a little bit. Because it's not artificially pumping, it's not going to keep sucking past like your point of supply. It will just take just enough. And so I've been using it. It's amazing. There's not a million pump parts. I just rinse it out and put it upside down to dry. And yeah, so that's been amazing. So when I feed her on one side, I just squeeze it, stick it on the other boob. It suctions, catches milk. I pour it in a milk, nursing a breast milk. What are those things called? The freezer bags that you put breast milk in. And I put it in there and I stick it in the freezer and I date it. And it's been so much easier. Now that I have 2 kids, it's like I don't have time to put her down and occupy my 2-year-old, set up my pump in the bathroom, pump for 10 minutes to only get 2 ounces of milk out. It just doesn't work. So feeding her on one side, I get to do this while I'm feeding her, while I'm already sitting down, I'm already in the mode. My body also is in the mode of feeding, so it's expressing milk. It just works. It's more intuitive. It works with the way your body already works. So it makes your life easier. Get yourself one of these. Seriously, like, highly recommend this and some nipple cream. But yeah, I wanted to share this with you. Let's wrap up this video because this story time has been taking forever. And if any of you are still here, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But yeah, I seriously wish I had the Haka in the beginning. I really wish I knew about it. And I feel like every doctor's office should like have an ad for this. Every mom should know about this product. I'm not kidding. So there's a few takeaways that I want to leave you with if you've made it to the end of this video. And I seriously appreciate it if you have. I've written them down. So let me just read them off so I don't forget anything. The first takeaway is breastfeeding is not easy, even though it's natural. So if you're someone that's having a hard time, or if you're about to have a baby and you end up having a hard time, there is nothing wrong with you. Your body is not broken. Breastfeeding is difficult. Number 2, you can go cold turkey with your nipple shield. So something I forgot to cover is my son, when he was using the nipple shield, which helped me not to have to pump as much, it was hard to get him off the nipple shield. And I know someone else who struggled with the same thing. Some people are able to wean their kid off the nipple shield. My kid would not breastfeed without it, and it was really hard. And you don't want to be reliant on the nipple shield because, again, it can be inconvenient to have to bring it everywhere. Because my kid wasn't underweight, my lactation consultant recommended that we just go cold turkey. Just take the nipple shield away. He'll scream and he'll cry, and it'll be hard, and it was. I know some of you are like, how dare you let your kid cry like that? But look, we needed to get him off the nipple shield. So I think he was like 5 or 6 weeks old. We took the nipple shield away. It was on a Saturday when I knew my husband was going to be home. We took turns. Like, we would take him outside. He was crying. We'd take turns passing him off because, man, when your kid's screaming at you, it's emotionally draining, especially when it's your first kid. You feel like the world is wrong and you're a horrible parent. But we would take him outside to calm him down. But honestly, after 2 hours, he was hungry enough that he latched without the shield. And it was amazing. And like I said, there was a friend of mine, she said she had the same problem. She couldn't get her daughter off the nipple shield. And I told her, we had the same problem. Go cold turkey. Eventually your kid will want to eat and they will take your breast without the nipple shield. And I know some of you are like, how could you starve your kid? But honestly, 2 hours is not going to kill your child, especially if your kid's not underweight. There's no concern there. There's no worry there. So know that, like, if you're on the nipple shield and you feel stuck there, I'm so glad I shared with this person that I was also on the nipple shield. I feel like a lot of moms also don't want to share that they're on the Nipple Shield because, like, I guess it's a failure that you don't know how to breastfeed or whatever. But I'm really glad that I hope that this can help you. Like, if you end up on the Nipple Shield, know that you can get off of it and you can go cold turkey. Obviously, ask a lactation consultant for advice. I think that was huge. Having a lactation consultant come to my home, and that's my third takeaway. Get the help of a lactation consultant. Apparently, there's this organization called Lactation League. I'll link them down below where you can find a breastfeeding consultant or a lactation consultant in your area. I highly recommend it because even though some of the things they might tell you might seem obvious to you, she gave me so much help, like telling me not to pump anymore or telling me how to get rid of a clogged duct because I had a lot of those, like using a hot compress and massaging and or giving me a nipple shield, showing me how to use it, or weighing my baby. She brought a scale to make sure that my baby was getting enough milk. And especially telling me and assuring me that I could do cold turkey with the nipple shield and that my son was going to be okay. Because I think if it was just me having to make that decision, as soon as he started crying, I would have just given it back to him because I would have been too scared. I was a first-time mom. So having someone, a professional outside of you say, hey, it's going to be okay. Your baby is plenty heavy enough. You could go cold turkey and let him cry for a little bit to get this breastfeeding better. It was huge because then our breastfeeding situation became way more positive. Like, I didn't have to stress about the nipple shield. I didn't have to stress about pumping. I could just feed him in the middle of the night just straight to my breast. So that was amazing. So get help if you need it. Really, a lactation consultant, even if you don't have insurance, is worth the investment. Number 4, use nipple cream. Number 5, if you express or pump too much, you'll keep increasing your supply. And number 6, it's not supposed to be painful. So if it's painful, check if your kid has a tongue tie. Go to the doctor and ask them to look. I know this mom, she's a new mom, and she said that it was so painful for her and no one even told her that her kid potentially could have a tongue tie. No one was like, oh, it's probably like, let's check all the things to see and rule out what the issue is. They just told her that she just wasn't doing it right. And then she came to find out her son had a horrible tongue tie, but she didn't see it or notice it for a long time. So if you're having difficulty, if breastfeeding is painful, do some investigating. It might not just be quote unquote your fault, okay? So thank you for sticking with me through this story time. I know it was a little crazy and this video has a different vibe. I'm filming at night and I have my allergies and I'm on the couch and my daughter woke up and all this, but I think it's safe to say that in 2019, I guess I want you guys to know that my videos are gonna probably have my kids in it more and they're not always gonna be perfectly quiet and the setting and the backdrop isn't always gonna be perfect and I'm not always gonna be wearing makeup and sometimes I might sound really stuffy. The reason why I'm telling you all this is because my videos have been pretty, I mean, maybe not to some of you, but to me, pretty well produced. I always film them during my kids' nap time and all this stuff. But now that I have 2, I don't want to make perfect circumstances what makes or breaks me making a video. I truly enjoy doing this. I truly enjoy sharing my journey and helping other people through that. And I can't wait for perfect circumstances of my kids both napping at the same time or not having allergies or not being able to put makeup on. Like, I'd so much rather sit here and talk to you and have a conversation with you and share my life with you in all of its like imperfect glory and the mess of it than like not film a video until I can have perfect circumstances. So I just want you to know that moving forward, my channel is going to be a lot more casual and it's going to be a lot more chill and a lot more, maybe even a little turbulent with kid noise and stuff, but I hope that's cool with you. I try to be more accepting of me and where I am at right now in my life as a mom of 2. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'm still holding this. I'm gonna link it in below. I'm serious, like you should get it. And if honestly, if you're going to a baby shower, you're not having a baby, but you're going to a baby shower, get this as a gift. Like really do it. So all the links are gonna be in the description. Man, I need some water. Thank you so much for watching this video. I seriously appreciate you guys. Thank you for following me in 2018. Thank you for helping me hit 100 subscribers. I really appreciate it. And I hope that if you're a mom, that this video about my breastfeeding journey kind of helped you get a full picture of like the challenges. Like obviously there's a lot of positives to breastfeeding. This video is not about the positives of breastfeeding. You can look that up anywhere. It's everywhere. There's so many positives to breastfeeding. I feel like that's a given. I wanted this video to intentionally be the challenges because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the challenges at all. So I hope that was a nice cup of honesty for you guys today, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Take care and Happy New Year. Bye.